I watched the events in New York on a rather bad internet connection on a rather cheap laptop, and like everybody else was transfixed.
I got off a plane from New Zealand in Hong Kong airport and looked at these images on a screen of smoke coming out of buildings, and it was not clear at all what was happening.
I was having a news conference at the Willard Hotel where I was staying, and it was during that news conference that the third plane hit the Pentagon. It was pretty obvious within a few hours that the thing had been planned.
There was a pushback. Here was a group who was saying no to this glorious idea of a universal, cosmopolitan, globalised, secular world. They were saying that religion mattered. They were saying that culture mattered. They were rejecting the ideas of the West.
Within a short period of time, there was a suggestion that where it had come from, it had been organised by Al-Qaeda, operating out of Afghanistan. And the day I left, which was the following day, courtesy of the Air Force Two to come back to Australia, I had a news conference and I expressed a willingness to support the Americans in a retaliation.
Certainly, the scope of the attack was beyond any terrorist attack that we had seen from Al-Qaeda, but the Al-Qaeda threat had been there, and so the big question has been, was our reaction to 9/11 more significant than the actual attack itself?
This was an unprovoked attack, completely without any rational justification, and it claimed the lives of thousands of innocent people. So the idea that we should have calibrated the formal response is absurd. There was a wide feeling around the world, and I entertained it, that this might be the first in a series.
It was around that time that Al-Qaeda was sort of on the radar of the US intelligence, but not in a way that they had taken them as seriously as they should have. Al-Qaeda had already struck. There had already been a bombing at the World Trade Center in the 90s. But then everyone woke up after 9/11 and thought, who are these people? Where did they come from? You know, why didn't we know?
This had come from nowhere. I'd had a meeting with President Bush the day before, and we didn't talk about terrorism because it wasn't on the radar.
9/11 is one of those kind of defining moments, like a Pearl Harbor, that kind of defines a generation of policymakers and national security personnel and intelligence analysts, and indeed just the regular civilian in how we see the world.
9/11 was, of course, the moment of revelation. That was when people like me had to get up to speed and understand what it was that had motivated the attackers. And that learning process ought to have told us that if there were revolutions in other countries in the Arab world, the winners would probably not be Google executives. The winners would much more likely to be the Islamists.
What we've seen since then is endless war, the longest wars that America has been involved in or Australia has been involved in, the global financial crisis, uprising in the Middle East, and of course the rise of Islamic State. All of that really stemming from that moment.